Hello, welcome to my grandpa's train. I went to a swap meet the other day, yesterday in fact, as I'm recording this, and I picked up a few odds and ends, mostly for repairing things. Before you, what we have here is everything that I was able to find. Oh, also, you can see this area on my layout has been cleaned off. At the end of the video, I'll explain what I'm going to do here. Well, let's take a look at what I picked up. Didn't want to spend a lot of money on trains that I'm not going to want in the long run. But what I did find is accessories and a few projects and parts for helping repair other projects. I'm not going to disclose any prices, but I consider everything I got was a real good bargain. This bag is full of Kadee coupler boxes. There's a whole bunch in there. In here, I've got some open frame motors and a couple other things. These are actually really nice little motors, assuming this one works. It's a Pitman style motor, and we'll get it cleaned up so it can be used on a future restoration if I need it. This is a CAN motor, which appears to be out of AHM models, so we'll see if that works. And then the last one in here is this. This is actually a Lionel motor for HO, their HO Lionel. This one actually is for the Lionel's HO Scale Hustler. I just recently repaired one of these, and I'll show that video coming up in the near future of what I did to repair that. I have no idea if this motor works. The windings kind of look burnt out. But all the pieces are there, so that one can be brought back to life. And then this, I had to figure out what exactly is this, but I believe this is actually the guts of a panel meter for voltage or amperage. Probably voltage, but I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that. This bag is full of street lamp posts. They're plastic. I'm not sure who makes these, but these I'm going to put on the S-scale layout, and that'll help illuminate the whole area, so that'll be really nice. Some of these will have to be glued back together. Let's take a look at one. Yeah, these are really nicely built models. I think the lenses come off. Yeah, and they have screw-in light bulbs. So, and then I can hook these up to like a 12-volt power supply or something. So that'll be a really neat addition to the flyer layout. This is a parts project. This is a Mantua Pacific, the all die-cast version, and most of it's there, but it's missing a couple essential pieces, and then there's no tender. So I don't know that I'll be able to operate this on the layout. It was sold as for parts or restoration, and I'd like to try my hand at getting it going again. This, I think, is very interesting. I have one of these in S-scale, operates on a completely different mechanism, but I was pretty surprised, and the price I thought it was reasonable, so I picked it up. This is an animated boxcar in HO scale. It's the Walking Brakeman, but it's manufactured by Tyco. I had no idea this actually existed, and it operates on a very unusual mechanism because the AC versions use a little buzzer and the guy scoots back and forth. This one is completely mechanical and may or may not be reliable. There's actually a little fella in here somewhere. I think he's stuck in the side. But anyway, there's supposed to be a little brakeman that walks back and forth through the slot on the top. And it's powered by rubber bands, I guess. So that'll be something to try to get working. Otherwise, it's a really nice looking Tyco car. Normally, I don't bother to pick up plastic freight cars, but that one was so unique, I thought, why not? And the other box over here, this is a Lionel HO. I have a handful of Lionel HO items, and this was a really, really good price. It was the same as the box car, and that'll complete the Lionel train set that I am assembling out of bits and pieces. Another lamp post. This will go in my HO scale freight yard area, either here or over on the other side, and hopefully that will add some illumination to the layout. One more thing and we'll get to this bag. This is the first thing I found at the swap meet, and its condition, it's very rough. Somebody painted this. This is not original paint at all. Why somebody would bother painting it black, I have no idea, but this is a 650. I'll have to check and see exactly which model this is, but it is an early one with the all plastic frame, and has the operating doors which is really neat. Spring-loaded passenger doors. My grandfather would have had a set of these that came with the Northern steam locomotive, so I'd be interested to try to find a couple more that match this. And I'll be able to put the window cards back in, and hopefully I'll end up repainting this. Maybe I'll make it a custom. We'll see what I want to do with that. Not sure yet. But definitely that black paint is not going to stay like that. That looks just awful. It was green. I'd like to be able to preserve the green paint, but I don't think it'll happen. Once I remove the top layer, it'll take all the paint off. So this will get probably completely repainted, either into its original paint scheme or maybe something custom. Now this bag has something that I thought was kind of cool. I think this is a flagpole in there. These are street lamps that are made out of brass tubing. They're completely scratch built, and they have just a single power wire running up through them, and then there's actually the ground and then the wires up at the top. So I'll test these out a little bit later, but these are S or O scale, and what I'm planning to do with these is actually use them on this layout. Now what I'm upgrading, I'm making some changes to the layout. This whole area is going to get a little bit of scenery. I'm hoping to build a small hill, kind of like a mountain scene, or an elevated area. What I'm actually doing is adding a elevated line to this layout, and this will allow me to operate pre-war American Flyer on this layout. I have a 3-rail track on the Flyer layout, but the pre-war American Flyer does not like the 027 radius. So that whole 027 loop is actually going to get removed, and then all the tin plate pre-war will be set to run on the elevated line that will go above the HO scale layout. And then the tin plate station from the Flyer layout will come over here, as well as these brass street lamps. So this will look really neat on this upper level. We'll have a whole pre-war era looking section so that I can operate that, and some 2-rail O as well. But I've got mostly the pre-war American Flyer to go over here. I think some of the other changes that'll happen is the roundhouse will go away, and then the lumber camp area is going to come over where the roundhouse is. So then this whole area of the layout will become scenic. So that's some changes that are going to happen over here. And let's go take a look at what I've been doing on the Flyer layout. There's a few things that are going to go away over here as well. One of them is actually the crane, primarily because I just don't use it. It's a really cool accessory, and I'm going to finish getting it operating, but I don't think it's going to stay on my layout. Then what I'm going to do is set up, I've got some Plasticville hobo camp buildings, and then I'll set up a hobo camp back in that back area over there. The NOMA station may or may not stay. I'd like to put some other Plasticville buildings up. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the 027 loop will go away, as well as the tin plate. That's actually made by Marks. That station and the pre-war 3-rail stuff will move over to the elevated line on the HO layout. That will open up this whole area for additional buildings, and we'll see some trees. I'm going to put up all those street lamps, and then probably some more Plasticville. And I also redid my control panel here. So I decided to add a one of these little pieces of wood up on the front edge of my layout. Now this is a cantilever on a cantilever, so when I press down on it, the whole thing kind of bounces. So I'll have to reinforce that a little bit. But I redid my control panel because primarily it stuck out too far. I don't have a lot of space to walk around it. I kept hitting my leg against the control handle of the 8B. So the whole thing got cut in half, and I took part of it and made a nice black backsplash area so that I can have my switch controllers up above, as well as my DC rectifier box. If you don't know, the American Flyer trains run on AC power, but some of them actually use DC, specifically my 332 locomotive. And so this box is actually a rectifier that I constructed so that I can operate that locomotive specifically while using this transformer. And then I have this switch box in between the controls to switch between alternating current or direct current to the outside loop of track. This box also has an amp meter and a voltmeter hooked up so that I can monitor the voltage and amperage going to the tracks and see if the locomotives are operating correctly. I had a little problem with this 8B transformer, and I took it apart to clean it the other day, and that solved the sporadic operation of my DC locomotives. Plus, I used Brasso and polished the top, and now it really shines. There's just a little bit of tarnish that won't come off, but all the layer of dirt came right off with the Brasso polish, so now it looks really good. So that concludes this layout update and train show haul video. Stay tuned to see what else I've got coming up. As you can see right down in front, I've got a custom painted locomotive and caboose. You'll be seeing that in the next video. Until next time, thanks for watching.